to ask the board to remain standing for a moment of silence to offer some comforting thoughts to the family of Jeffrey White, a GD student who recently passed away, and also to the family of Zach Pierce, former school board member whose maternal grandmother also recently passed away. Thank you. And now our recording secretary will take the roll call.
Bill Bouquet?
Here.
Ryan Carson?
Here.
Jessica Decker?
Je-
Jack Fisher?
Jessica did contact John. She's at her son's concert this evening.
Beth
Here.
Fisher? Corey Homer?
Here.
Pam Luttrell?
Here.
Beth O'Leary?
Here.
Beth Pike?
Here.
And John Lozelle?
Here.
Thank you, Julie. And may I have a volunteer to read the mission statement?
Delaware Valley School District, in partnership with our community, stands committed to maximizing student potential, fostering lifelong learning, and promoting responsible citizenship.
Thank you, Corey. And may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Brian and John. All those in favor say, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion carries. I would like to remind everyone, first I would like to welcome anyone new to our meeting and to remind everyone that you may offer any comments or ask any questions throughout the meeting. Just put your hand up, give us your name, and you will be recognized. Thank you for being here. And now, John, I'm sorry, Dr. Bell. He's gonna get used to that one.
I'm not used to it.
Okay, I know you're not. We'll introduce our guest speaker this evening, or presenter, I should say.
Thank you. Tonight, Marcia Horowitz is here to tell us about the anonymous food pantry. If you want to come up to the podium there. More than a food pantry, right?
My name is Marcia Horowitz, and I'm a local business owner and mom. And I'm here to prove that you should never hit that like button on Facebook unless you really want to be involved. What happened was that somebody made a post of a anonymous food pantry or pantry that started at a school in North Carolina. And from this, any student that was in need of a toiletry, a personal item, a food item, or a clothing item could then gain access to the pantry through either going through an administrator, a guidance counselor, and they can gain access to the pantry, take whatever they wanted, and then just leave. So it was a whole big thing. People were posting and commenting and saying it was such a great idea, and nobody took that next step. So unbeknownst to me, I decided to do that. And I reached out to the school. I don't remember who I reached out to first, but one thing led to another, and I got to where I needed to be. And the end result was, I guess, the high school principal and Miss Wormer, is that her last name? Mm-hmm. Crystal Wormer. So we met with them. We wanted to make sure that it was a project that everybody wanted to go ahead with. It's our goal to start in the high school, and then if the program expands the way we expect, we'd like to move it into the middle schools. So we met with them. They were very agreeable to the program. We put it out on Facebook. We started a page and got an overwhelming response. Within a week's time, we've gotten enough stuff to fill Joe Fagan, who I volunteered to be on my committee for right now, to fill his basement. We've been tweaking it. We've been posting what we need, what we don't need, any additional food items that we get that don't meet the pantry's needs, then we're going to donate to the Heart of Matamoros. They are helping us in a way, and we're going to help them. That's really what has transpired so far in a week. Very shortly, we'll be making committees from the people that have put their name on the volunteer list, because it's growing very, very quickly. And our goal is, if everything goes good in high school, by this summer, by next fall when school starts, we met with Rocco from Walmart and Joe from Kmart, and we'd like to be able to provide a pair of new sneakers to every child that needs one coming into the high school. So that's our next level tier. We just wanted to put it out there, let everybody know what's going on. We're not soliciting businesses. We put it out to the community members. We didn't want to put it out to just businesses. Everybody keeps hitting the businesses over and over and over, the same businesses for every fundraiser. So we wanted it to be a community-run program. And that's how it's been going. So if anybody has any questions about it, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But our delivery date to the high school is March 1st. And we think there'll be a little bit of hesitation at first for the students that really need to utilize the program to get in there, but feel over time it will be someplace for them to get what they need.
Marcia, will our high school students be involved on a volunteer basis?
When we spoke with Mr. Blum, we will keep the pantry stocked, and then it's our hope that different groups in the school, the student council, different groups every month, it will be their job to maintain the stuff that's in the pantry, keep inventory of what's there. When we make the delivery, we'll give them an inventory of what we're delivering. And then as they need additional items, they'll send us, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, they'll let us know, and we'll bring the stuff to the school to restock it.
Excellent. I saw the posts.
Okay.
Thank you for pressing the like button. That's wonderful. Thanks very much.
You know, there's a need in every community. There's a need, whether it's 2 students or 10 students or 100 students. No student should have to go without those essential items. So we'll see what happens. Yes.
Exactly what will the pantry be keeping?
The pantry will be keeping all toiletries of toothpaste, toothbrushes, dental floss, shampoo, conditioner, body soap, cream, all different toiletry, shaving cream, no razors. The school asked us not to supply any razors. So all personal hygiene items, and we have a lot of couponers in the community that have just taken off with this, okay? They think it's great, and they're just delivering stuff by the bag full. So, and then for food items, it's going to be items that they can eat sort of on the go. So canned pasta, cups and a fruit, puddings, tuna fish, basic items like that. And then we're going to start with sweatshirts, unisex sweatshirts. So we figure this way, if it's a boy or a girl will wear one that's unisex. We're hoping to branch out to t-shirts by contacting all the local sporting groups that are here. They always sell t-shirts, and they always have extra t-shirts. So we're hopeful that they will give it to us, and old ones, it doesn't matter. And then the kids will just sort of blend in. We want everybody to just blend. We don't want anybody to feel different. We're also collecting backpacks in case a student doesn't have a backpack. Now and for women, for the girls, feminine hygiene products. That was something that somebody suggested that we add. And for a student that doesn't have a backpack, we added backpacks to the list. So they want to go in the pantry, what are they going to do? Walk out with a Walmart bag? So we decided that was a good option. And then somebody else from the page suggested pens, pencils, notebook paper, erasers, things like that. The community, as I said, people had things delivered from Amazon directly to my house, just boxes of stuff. So that's what's going to be in the pantry. Yes.
Hi, I just came in a little late. Who's sponsoring this program?
Excuse me.
Who is sponsoring the program?
I guess for right now, Joe Fagan and I are the facilitators of it until it becomes more community-based.
And who initiated it?
I guess I initiated it from a Facebook post. Okay? Somebody started it, a group started it in a school in North Carolina, I believe. And that's how this whole thing came up. So,
Facebook's the way to go, right?
you know, Facebook has its good points and its bad points, and this was a good one. So, one for Facebook today.
Thank you.
And if you want to join the page, if anybody want to join the page, it's the Delaware Valley School District Anonymous Pantry. That's the name of the page.
It gets overwhelming, doesn't it, the responses?
Well, in a very, very short time, the group only started, I think, a little over a week ago. And I think there's close to, 500 members or 475, something like that.
We did something similar when they had the manhunt for the, I'm not gonna say his name.
Yes.
They had the manhunt on, the community in Pike County, like, we're so fortunate because we were overwhelmed with stuff. I remember calling up Dawn here and asking her what your husband's doing because I just had too much stuff to deliver. And we got people from all over helping us out and giving us stuff. The Red Cross actually said, "Where's all this coming from?" And we said, "Welcome to Pike County. People there are very generous." But the Red Cross actually told us, stop, you can't handle it.
Well,
So I know what you're facing.
we did have to tell the people after a week, stop, please don't bring any more shampoo right now, we have, and we didn't want to end up with a truckload of one thing. And we do live in a wonderful community.
That's the great thing about here is you go on Facebook and you say, I need something for a good cause in this community, you'll get a response. And it's always been positive.
Well, we live in a community of 49,000 people, I believe. So we just get 1,000 to help us out. And it's more than anybody could have asked for.
This will be at all the schools or?
We're starting in the high school.
Yeah.
And then we will hope to branch to the middle schools, the elementary schools, the students to know what they need. So we thought once the program was really up and running, if a guidance counselor or a nurse or somebody thought that there was a student in need, they could contact us. We don't want it to become the shopping mecca where they're there and stuff. So then the parent, the nurse, or
It'll be by referral.
right, they can talk to somebody, then we can get somebody over there and bring over whatever. But we don't want it to become like another shopping store. That's not what we're looking for it to be.
I know through the years, our nurses and some teachers have very discreetly been there for families who needed such items, and you will be a wonderful resource to them.
Well, thank you.
Thanks
We-
for all
we-
the hard work,
Thank you
Marcia.
very much.
Thank you for doing
Well,
it.
thank you. With my regular business? Yeah. OMG, are you sure it's gluten-free? I'm a gluten-free baker.
And I'm a tester,
be
and
sure to
it's some
put
of
that
the
in.
best gluten-free products ever.
We're in Milford, we don't have a storefront, but we supply to local restaurants and businesses, and we have an online store.
You should bring us some products when you come back.
Thank you so much. And we'll look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting, which was held on January 21st, 2016?
So moved.
Jack? Second by Dawn. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'd like to abstain.
Okay. Dawn wasn't present. And if there are no objections, the motion carries. We'll now move to reports, our administrative reports. Are there any comments from the board?
I do have, ask Dr. Brusel a question, and I gotta get to it. You said, Dr. Brusel, in your thing, and I couldn't bring it up yet really quick, in your report that you met with the Occupational Advisory Committee.
Yes, we meet, the Perkins grant is due by June 30th of every year. And we have an occupational advisory, it's called a local advisory council meeting in May. And they all meet together and they provide reports to me as to the items and equipment that they would like to see in the program. If an occupational advisory council doesn't make a recommendation for equipment, you really can't put it in the grant.
So do you have a list of the equipment that they suggested?
Yes, I could get that for you.
Please, that's what I'd like to say. What is the Occupational Advisory Committee?
Last year, we had over 35 members of the various councils come to the meeting.
How many do we have overall? Do you know?
It's probably close to 45 or 50 actual members,
So they are coming.
so, yeah.
Okay, that's great, thanks. Yeah, if you could, I'd be curious to see what they picked out.
And I would just like to commend all the principals and administrators on all of your projects that are flourishing in the schools. Just your reports are just flowing with activities, and I still can't wait to hear the outcome of the mold growth. It's very interesting projects going on. Any comments about the financial reports, questions? Attendance? Okay, moving on, Sophie?
So what's been going on for the past month? This past week, we did a new idea through the student council. We sold carnations for 2 weeks during lunches. It was a really popular and fun idea to kind of spread the love for Valentine's Day. We sold over 100 carnations, and like everyone bought some, and there was like purple, I think there was like pink, white, and red. Buy something different. It was meant kind of to promote the semi-formal dance, which is taking place tomorrow at the high school. And it's open to grades 9 through 12 now, instead of just 11 and 12, because it seems like the underclassmen kind of enjoy the dance at the high school a lot. So we opened it up this year to all grades. In January, at the end of the month, we did a Super Bowl theme day, so everyone got to dress up in like their favorite Super Bowl team, but that just passed, so it was kind of to promote the Super Bowl that was coming up in February. And the senior class has chosen a prom theme, which we're doing a Hollywood nightlife, which seems kind of fun. It's going to be like lit up, and the decoration committee is really busy at work. And March 11th, the senior class is doing a fundraiser for like the prom. And we actually have a lot of money saved up for the prom, so we're excited for that. They're hosting Brian Eslick, who's a famous hypnotist, and it's open to the whole community, so anyone can come. I mean, I'll probably go, maybe.
Put you on stage. So you're going up on stage, like.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not going. I probably would too. It'd freak me out. And then January 27th, we held our first American Red Cross blood drive for this year, and it was a huge success. A lot of kids donated, which is good to see. I tried donating, but my iron wasn't high enough, which is normal. And the production of Fiddler on the Roof is coming along really well. I spoke to a lot of the drama club members, and tickets are coming on sale soon, so that's exciting for this spring. And
What's the date of the performance?
it's in April. I think the beginning. It normally is like the first weekend of April, but I'm not exactly sure the exact date. But I know like they were saying the tickets are gonna like be sold out this year, so get your tickets early because apparently it's a big show.
It's the 9th of 10th.
Nice and
9th.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm glad to hear you opened it up to the underclassmen. I think the more activities we have for everyone, the better.
Yeah, I mean like last year it was not a lot of kids went for the 11 and 12, and so we wanted the 9 and 10 to be able to come this year because they really love the dances. Like homecoming, we had like 500 kids come, and it was mostly 9th and 10th grade. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sophie. And now we will hear from Dr. Bell.
Okay, I'll be very brief. I'm on a roll here, so I want to keep it going. There's a couple things. First off, in the back page of the dispatch, our own Joey Centeni, who's not here tonight, but here he is doing his signing. He's going to Hamilton College. And if you don't know, Joey's a tremendous student, and Hamilton is a very well-known and renowned liberal arts college upstate in Clinton, New York. So we're really proud of Joey. There's also a nice picture of Mr. Weinstein. It's in their partnership. Nice picture of the two of you in the paper. Her nicer than you, but
I'm sure.
that's a given.
That's why she's there.
That's right. And then there's also an article in here that Matamoros got a grant from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. They got a grant for $243,000 for Airport Park. And the only way that they were able to get it was if they were matching local funds. The work that we're doing down at Airport Park, both on the school and then the property around it, was allowed to be used as considered the local match. So because of the money we're putting on the new school, they could apply for this grant, and they got $250,000 from the state to do enhancements to Airport Park. So that's tremendous. So it was a nice partnership, and we were glad to help them. All it took really was a letter from me detailing the work we were doing, and then that was enough to get them in the hopper for this money. So it's good news for Matamoros. So we're happy about that.
I'm sorry, who was it? What was the exact amount?
243. You read it in the dispatch today. That's right. It's on the front page of the dispatch. Okay. $243,000 they got from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. The other thing is we're out on the recruiting trail. Jim and I were at East Stroudsburg last week. Peg and Marie are helping us as well. We're going to, on March 8th, we're going to Millersville, where there'll be 10 to 12 colleges that all come from that region. We'll come there for a teacher job fair. March 9th, we're at the University of Scranton for the Scranton area. March 30th, we're at Misericordia for the Wilkes-Barre area. April 4th, Jim and Brian Blom are going to Penn State. And then there's a real big fair at Bloomsburg on April 5th. So we're out and about. We're beating the bushes, looking for the best and the brightest for the openings we have for next year. And we've also just posted them in a whole variety of places all over the state. So we can really, because we have some tough to fill spots. Culinary arts, 2 music positions, math. We have some difficult spots to fill. So we're really beating the bushes from east to west to really see what we can do. But, and there's not a lot of kids out there. We went to East Stroudsburg last week. They only have, now East Stroudsburg has been known as a teacher's college for forever. You know, it used to be called the State Teachers College, right? And they have 9 math graduates, 4 social studies, and 1 English. That's all they have this year. And across the state, all the teacher ed programs are down at least 40% compared to the high prior to the recession. So that means we have to work even harder to advertise in more places, to go to more job fairs, and get going faster so we can beat other districts to the punch. So it takes some more hustle on our part to make sure we get top kids. But it's a challenge. We like it. The other thing I want to mention is, knock on wood, we have 7 of our 9 snow days left. So what we're going to do is we're going to send home a letter to the senior parents, letting them know, as in the past, if we have a whole bunch of days left, we will get out of school a week early, which means graduation would move up a week too. So we want to give them plenty of advance notice. And we've done this 2 or 3 times in recent memory where we've gotten out early. So we want to tell them now that, hey, just as a heads up, we have a lot of days left. We'll be looking to graduate on the 10th instead of the 17th. And that we would ask you guys to amend the calendar at the April meeting, which I think is the 21st, maybe. At that April meeting, we would then go, because by then we know if we're really out of the woods for most things. Then we could amend the calendar there and get back any unused snow days at that point in time. So
Here comes the blizzard.
yeah. We get crushed next Wednesday. We're watching next Wednesday. So that'll probably be, but just to give you guys a heads up that we're going to send a letter to the parents just to make sure, because sometimes they may not know. When it goes 4 or 5 years between times where we get out a week early, they may not pay attention to it or not remember. So we want to give them the heads up. And then also we'll come to you in April once we have a much better idea where we're at. And then finally, later on, when we talk about CTE, I have information for you. I have information about the pole barn that was proposed for the maintenance. And then I have some pictures to show you, just in case you're not familiar with the area. But we can do that when we get back to CTE. So we'll all kind of go into that conversation And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving on, may I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Jack and Jack. Second,
Second.
any, I'm sorry, Jack was the second, Jack Fisher, correct? And, any discussion? I'm sorry, Brian, any discussion concerning the treasurer's report? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion carries. We'll move on to bills for payment. May I have a motion to accept the bills for payment, which include the general fund, cafeteria fund, capital reserve fund, and the 2015 construction fund?
So moved.
Jack Fisher and Lori. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. Moving on to personnel items. May I have a motion to approve the personnel items including resignations, appointments, request for child rearing leave, extension of bereavement, change of salary, and change of effective date?
So moved.
Moved by Jack,
Second.
second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion carries. Items for approval, number 9. May I have a motion to approve additional volunteers?
So moved.
Motion by John, second by Jack. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion carries. May I have a motion to acknowledge the completion of the induction process for the following employees: Linda Hudman, Racina Ross, Lauren Sweet, and Sarah Walsh.
So moved.
Second.
Scott and John. And any discussion? I would just like to congratulate them on their accomplishment. A lot of hard work to get there. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the Colonial Intermediate Unit Number 20 General Operating Budget for the 2016-2017 school year, including administrative services, curriculum development services, management services, and instructional materials services?
Motion.
Motion by John. Second by Don. Any discussion?
What's the DB? What's the DB portion of that?
It's about
34,330 is the estimate. It will fluctuate a little bit because of enrollment changes, but that's what the ballpark figure is.
It's no increase from the current year to next.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion carries. May I now have a motion to approve change orders PC 009 and PC 16 for the Delaware Valley Elementary School as outlined in bulletins 1 and 2.
So moved.
Moved by Jack.
Second.
Second by Chuck. Any discussion?
These represent savings to the school districts.
Correct. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion carries. Moving on, may I have an approval to extend and renew the listing agreement MLS number 14-158 with Chant Realtors from March 30th, 2016 through September 30th, 2016 for the Biondo property.
Motion?
Second by Corey. Any discussion?
Is this for just the front acreage?
And also to continue because we hadn't closed on the back yet.
Okay.
So it's for the whole enchilada.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the request for the waiver of rental fees for the following organizations, subject to approved insurance? And it's just one organization. Cub Scout Pack 1003 to use the Dingman, Delaware Middle School cafeteria and auditorium on February 27, 2016 for their Blue and Gold banquet at a loss of rental fees of approximately $215. Motion by Don.
Second.
Second by Chuck. Any discussion? Hearing none. Oh, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion carries. Moving on to item G. May I have a motion to approve the Berkovich Design Associates Architects LLC to develop and prepare construction documentation for the CTE additions and renovations at a fee of 6.5%. The fee shall include the services provided by the educational consultant, Dr. Clyde Hornberger. BDA and their associates will proceed with testing and site development, but will not exceed $100,000 in billings without further approval. The fees billed exclusive of testing agencies will be credited toward the percentage fee at a time when the board authorizes the project to move to completion. May I have a motion? By Jack and John,
Second.
second by John. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I appreciate John. If you check your emails this week, I sent John an email asking for clarification on the site development, because site development is many different things. And from last week's workshop, I noticed that there was a few members not quite sure what we really wanted to go forward with. And I always warn the same thing, that the most expensive thing you do in construction is when you do it twice. So I talked to John this evening about this, and none of this is something we're gonna have to do twice regardless of what we change. So it's all pretty safe to just go ahead and do this. We all agreed pretty much that we wanted to get the CTE. So these are just the basic. And Don understands where we're at with this too as well. So that's what the email is about. Thanks.
Thank you, John.
And in the presentation that Don gave back in the fall, I think it was September, there was just a money line allocation about the pole barn that caught some people by
John,
surprise.
just for point of, shouldn't we call the roll first to close the vote before we go to?
Oh, we can, certainly. I didn't know if you wanted
Well,
a
because that-
discussion or,
Well, it has nothing to do with the motion, so before we forget to. Oops.
Well, we're clarifying that the pole barn is not part of any of this, which that has been clarified. I think that was part of our intent.
yeah, there's
So-
no construction. The pole barn, if there's any site work that needs to be done for approvals from DEP, that would include that whole area in the back where CPE is and where the barn would go. That's why I wanted to fill you in about the barn tonight.
Or, because it'll affect the planning portion of it. Okay.
Yeah, and one of the
We
things,
want to make sure.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're.
so if you look at this pole barn project, which is in your packet tonight, your vote tonight, first of all, this is, if you're standing, this is around back. If you go around back like you're going to 910 high school or to the middle school, if you drive around the back of the high school, this is the CTE entrance. Food service is right here, and this is where electrical is, and this is actually where we have art classes right now. Originally, that was designed to be a diesel mechanic. And then where I was standing when I took this picture is in the gravel that leads to the area that we're talking about. Then I turned around facing the other way so you can get an idea. So CT is facing one way, going back this way. This is where we keep our buses. A lot of our equipment is out here. This is an old tractor, back of a tractor trailer that we keep stuff in. This is the brown maintenance building that we have now. And then there's a yellow, like a double wide trailer that I'll show you in a minute.
When was that brown building constructed, John? Do you know of that?
I'm trying to remember. Does anybody remember it being done? Billy, you even remember? And Billy's been here 25 years. So
It's always been there.
it was here when we bought the property. No. 1956. This is the backside of that brown building. So this would be facing CTE. This CTE wing is, so on the side of the building, you'll see a lot of the tractor equipment that is outside. Here is a tractor trailer, the back of a tractor trailer that we put stuff in. We hide a lot of stuff under it. This is one of the rolling trailers. We've had a lot of problems with storage, so we bought a few of these rolling trailers. which actually come in really handy during drama season. Drama has a tremendous amount of stuff, but when drama season's over, we got to get it off the stage to get ready for the next concert and things. So we actually fill one of these entire with drama products. We have another one for the marching band. So you'll see there's just stuff all over the place on the outside. And again, that's on the back side of the Brown building. Here's another view. Tractor trailer here. Here's a rolling cart, and I'll show you there's some more stuff. So we have a hodgepodge of stuff. I never knew how bad it looked to the people that live in the senior care until I was back there this morning looking. You'll see we have some additional storage. There's a couple more storage things that we've gotten from Trovy that we throw stuff in just to try to keep things out of the elements the best we can. This is the sander that we use that's in one of the dump trucks. We have to keep the sander inside. That vehicle, in the winter, that has to be the vehicle that stays inside. Otherwise, it all freezes up overnight. In the morning when you go, you're up the creek in terms of sand in the parking lots. When you take the sander out, this is where a lot of the maintenance supplies are. I figured people had never seen the building, and some of them might not even know where it was. So I thought it was worthwhile showing you. This is the maintenance workbench. So when something breaks in the buildings and has to come over to be repaired, this is where they do the repairs right now. This is where we store. We have storage up above there. This is the ground storage area. We're able to get one of the mowers inside and some of the tools. This is the building next to the Brown maintenance shed. You can see just this, you can just catch the end of the Brown maintenance shed. This is like a, for a lack of a better word, a double wide trailer that we use. Let me show you the uses for that. I was trying to remember how long that one was there too. There used to be another one too, Marvin. Wasn't there at one time?
The weight room.
The what?
The weight room.
That was the weight room?
That was the one before we built up field house.
Boy, oh boy. That's just another view of it. This is the rustic look, we call this. Here. And that's the flip side of that. Of course, none of it is handicap accessible. Neither one of the buildings are weather tight. They both leak like sieves. On one side of it, we have some custodial storage for the custodians back in the building, the high school, middle school that would need stuff. And then on the other side is a place where our drivers, that's where we house our drivers for any of the buses that we have.
Cozy.
Yeah, cozy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the OSHA people around looking at the
Oh, sorry. So basically, I just wanted you to get an idea of what these two little buildings are, what's in them. What would happen is the Brown building would stay if we were to build a new pole barn, but this yellow trailer would go. So if you picture the pole barn, if you picture the Brown building being where it is now, this is Milford Valley Convalescent Home right here. The Brown building is here. The yellow double wide is going towards 209. That double wide would come out, and the new building would be there right next to the Brown building is where it would be built. Now, some of the questions about the building, I gave you just a who, what, where, when, and why. And you'll see there's current status. It talks about what the buildings are used for, the shape that they're in. Neither one of them are weather tight nor energy efficient. I got a kick out of when Marvin told me all the wastewater treatment and the domestic water records are kept in a storage closet in the high school CTE wing because there's no room to keep all that stuff in there and keep it from getting wet. The benefit of a new building is that we'd be able to store more vehicles inside, which would reduce wear and tear. We could keep more equipment inside, which would extend the lives of the equipment. We also could keep a lot more supplies inside, tires, cones, fertilizer, all that stuff is outside right now. More workspace for repairs, the ability to buy more things at bid prices and get lower prices on quantity. We're not able to stock a lot of stuff, so we have to run to the store because we don't have room to stock as much as we'd like. So we have better purchasing price, better inventory. You can read the rest of that stuff there. And then also it would be a place to have more deliveries made to so that the big trucks aren't going up between the CTE wing and the 910 entrance. That's where the delivery, the loading dock is right now. We deliver everything to the high school and then expand it from there. So, the estimate was $350,000, which is certainly something we could work on. And then the reason why now, they've talked about a maintenance shed longer than I've been here, but it didn't get put in the last project. It got shelved because of the price of everything else, so it got shelved and pushed down the road. And then the different options. You could simply include the pole barn as part of the CTE project that we presented back in the fall, and then Don presented last time. You could make the pole barn separate from CTE in terms of funding and say, this money's for CTE, that pot of money is for, and there's no commingling, so that you don't have to worry about any money from the barn going towards CTE. The third option would be is you could make the pole barn an addendum. When you do the bids for CTE, you could have an addendum for the pole barn, and then if everything comes in okay on CTE, then and only, you wouldn't have to decide until then whether you wanted to build the building or not. And then the fourth option is simply get the approvals as you're going through the approvals for DEP and Pike County Conservation District. It's like a blip on the radar to get the pole barn approved at the same time that you're approving this grand project. So it doesn't take any longer, doesn't cost really any more money to do it. And those approvals last multiple years. Like the approval we had here to build the high school addition, that languished for many years until we finally pulled it off. Remember, we couldn't build this until we knew we were getting a new elementary school. So that had approval for many years from DEP and Conservation District and Westfield Township, and it just languished there until we were ready to do it. So I thought that would give you 4 different things to think about, 4 different options to do it. And it could move the discussion forward and keep moving. Even if you were concerned about the money, it could be, I like the idea of separate funds. I like the idea of it being an addendum, that you could reject it if say CTE came in higher than we thought. And say, John, we need that 350 to put it towards, we can't do it towards the pole barn, we got to put it towards CTE. If it got to that point, that would give you the option to do that. So I'll let you guys converse and I'll answer any questions you have. Chuck?
What size are you looking at?
Do you remember what it was, John?
5,900 square feet.
Almost 6,000 square feet. Wow.
5,900 square feet.
60 by 100?
59
59 by 100?
Yeah, it's like 72 by 74, something like that. I figured I had it figured out on it, but it's
And
good.
the floor?
Yeah.
Floor?
I had no idea. We never got a conceptual drawing or anything on it, just a price. I had no idea what it consists of.
Whatever it looks like, attic storage.
Yeah, I was wondering the same
No idea.
thing. Any upstairs
Do you know, John, is it
storage?
all one open floor plan, or is it the,
It was, Myra, we talked about just one, right?
Yes.
There would be storage along the back side, which could go as high as we want it, behind where the truck bays would be, that kind of thing.
Do you know how high the building would be?
No, there is no conceptual drawing. When we did this project, we simply said, you cannot go over this amount of money. How much space can you get us for this amount of money? So we worked from, what is it, form function, Chuck, right? So we said, you cannot go over this money. How much can you get us for this amount? And that's as far as we went, because it is just a pole barn, so it's not very complicated.
But John, is this intended to be a heated structure, or is there an office inside of it that would be heated?
Yes. Yeah.
The entire thing would be heated?
Pardon?
The entire thing would be heated. So is there any estimate on the cost for that?
We haven't, operational costs?
Yeah.
I haven't delved into that yet, but there'll be some.
Marvin, we wouldn't heat the bays though, right? Would we heat the bays or just the office side?
No, not the base.
Oh, okay.
Are any of the buildings we have now heated?
You mean these buildings?
Yeah.
Is there heat in the brown building?
I don't know. Offhand.
Is that the one where they have the office?
That's the yellow building.
Where they have to do repairs though, isn't that in the brown building?
Yeah.
How can they do repairs if it's not heated?
They wear their jackets.
It doesn't help with your hands much.
Look at these.
No sympathy for Jackie's outside working.
I don't need an answer now, John, but yeah, I just think moving forward, let's, it's not just the initial cost of the building, but the ongoing costs. So, I'd just like to have a handle on that.
Yeah.
I think my own personal view of this is that we've not discussed any option to this. I can't really go ahead and tell Don to put it in part of CTE and part of what we're approving with this when we're not really sure. We haven't discussed, like, my friend here asked me for the newspaper, and I have no idea what any of this building is. I only know what cost. So I don't think we can include it with, obtain approvals for a pole barn, but we don't know if we're gonna build a pole barn, if we're gonna build an alternative building. I mean, there are alternatives to it.
Well, I don't think you should say no at this point. I think what we should do is, just like we have to refine CTE, we can get you more info on this, because you still have to make a decision down the road in a couple of months of what really is gonna be in CTE. What Don needs to know for CTE right now is roughly the square footage. What's gonna be inside doesn't matter to DEP and Conservation District, but roughly we've worked in the side. We looked at 3 different versions of the CTE building, and then we ended up coming with a 4th version, which based on the feedback from the board. So I think we have a pretty good idea about the space and what that building is.
Right, but item G that we're going to vote on CTE, it has nothing to do with this pole barn. Pole barn has nothing to do with CTE.
Well, it's part of the project that we presented.
I would like to address.
Yeah, because that's my question was going to be, when we met with Don.
Yeah.
And we approved going up to $100,000. That's when we found out the pole barn was in there. So my understanding is the testing and the core drilling and whatnot is for both the CTE expansion and the pole barn, correct?
Right.
So the $100,000 that we're approving, we're either going to completely take the pole barn out of that, or we're going to include the initial testing for the pole barn that should last us several years.
Right.
Should we opt not to do the pole barn, or should we? And I'm assuming if we go for one that's 5,900 square feet and we decide to scale it down, if we've done testing for a larger building,
right, then you're okay.
We're still okay
Right.
if we scale it down.
Right, but we haven't agreed to building this pole barn. We haven't even discussed.
No, I would agree. We haven't
So
agreed.
we can't go forward with plans to build something that we don't even know if we're building.
No, but the incremental costs of drilling those wells, I would think wouldn't be too substantial. I mean, what we're adding to those planning costs to include the pole barn, you think they're,
I don't know, but I don't think we should go ahead and agree to something that we haven't discussed.
Is this in addition to the 10.8 million?
No, it's in that.
It's in the 10.8.
It's in there.
It's in the drawings that we were getting?
No, when Don did the presentation last fall, and we looked at the different drawings, and there were drawings of everything that was gonna happen in CTE. When he got to the budget page, he said, and in here, there's also $350,000 for the storage facility. But because there was no drawing, nobody remembered that he even said that. And that was something that we added right just before Don did the presentation, a couple of days before he did the presentation. We said, let's put the storage facility in there, but it cannot exceed this amount of money. Go figure out how much square footage you could get for that amount of money. So that's why in the week in review last week, I shared the PowerPoint from last fall so people could see that it really was there, but there's no drawing because there still to this day is not a drawing. It was just a set of money set aside to try to alleviate one of our other problems.
Oh, and it is a big problem. The old brown building there were actually 2 or 3 of those. And my church bought one for $1, I think, about 10 years ago. And we had to take it away.
Yeah.
And it was 40 or 50,000 to repair it. So I'm glad to see that going. But like Jack said, we don't have anything to really sink our teeth into at this point. So I'm a little concerned about that.
Well, I don't mind including this in the permitting process, because I think in the long run, it's going to be a savings. Unless you think we're going to do nothing about a pole barn. I think just including the permitting process and getting those wheels turning at this point makes sense. We obviously have a lot of work to do with the pole barn and what it's going to look like, and but if we wait and we decide we do need a pole barn and we have to do that permitting process separately, it's going to cost us more money.
Right, and if we decide we're gonna do something completely different and spend the money on the permitting fees for a pole barn, and we're doing something different, then we're paying twice.
I don't think so, Jack. I think the kind of permitting they're doing here would apply to anything that goes on that
There's a
site.
big difference between those brown buildings, the type of buildings that they have in Port Jervis, the type of buildings that they have in Central Valley schools. If you travel different schools, which I do, you'll see each school has a different type of facility.
And basically what DEP and Conservation District want to know is, what kind of square footage are you enlarging the high school? And what kind of square footage might this building be? And then what are the environmental effects of it? That's what they want to know. That's how we got the rain gardens out front and things of that nature. Because they want to know, are you taking grass away and replacing it with pavement or with a structure? Because that's the stuff that takes the longest. The DEP approval for the new elementary school took longer than the actual construction of the school is going to take. We built the school faster than DEP approved the environmental, which is unbelievable.
Well, what's the additional funding cost to do the approvals on this building?
To do the DEP and Conservation District approvals?
For the pole barn?
Yeah. I would give you a ballpark guess that it might be a couple of $1,000. Because our engineers are doing all the work on the CTE building, and then saying, oh yeah, and then back here, we might build a building that's 6,000 square feet or 5,000 square feet.
There's too many variables. I want to pass the CTE. I want to vote for this tonight, but I can't. So I just can't.
And I would just like to add that we've been working a long time toward this project, and we're about to ask the community to support a $10 million project, and we have been trying to find money here and there, and we're tearing this all apart to have the greatest savings for our district and get the most out of our money. And I certainly understand, Chuck, your reason. I really do. If we save money now, it could cost us more to do those tests that are required later. But my biggest concern, I'm going to be perfectly honest, is that this got by me. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want the community to say, Pam Lutley, when did that building go up? And I'll say, I don't recall that I voted for it. And we were close to allowing that to happen. It's an eyesore out there, and I don't like what it looks like. So we have been creating a wish list here for Jeff and Bill to create their magic. And I believe this should go on our wish list. I support a pole barn wholeheartedly. We need to do something out there, and every school has one. It makes sense. But I don't want to attach it to our CTE project because there's no direct link between that pole barn and CTE. I had hoped that perhaps we could put welding in there to have some kind of tie-in, but that doesn't seem like it would even be possible.
And the other thing to think about is they can still be two different projects, but it's cheaper if you pay your engineers to send everything to DEP and Conservation District once, not once now for CTE and once later with a bunch of CapEx projects. It's also cheaper to have your general contractor, your plumber, your electrician, whomever, to come here and give you better prices. If they're coming for something big and then you're going to do a little something next door to it, you're going to get a heck of a lot better price than if you were just bidding the pole barn out separately.
Yeah, I get it. It makes sense. So it's a decision we have to formulate among ourselves.
And the other thing you could also do is if you say, hey, listen, we don't want to bite off too much right now. The other thing you can do is get the approval for the building and then put it on our future CapEx list. Because it's just cheaper to get it approved as part of the larger package. And you don't have to even build it now if you didn't like. The addendum with an option, do it on the future project list. But we're just trying to save money in the long run.
If we have something down the pike that requires $350,000 for CTE that we have to bypass, I'm gonna not be too happy with myself.
And that's where if you put it as an addendum,
Right.
it solves that problem.
Yeah.
Because you only build it if you're sure that you got what you
No,
need for
I had
CTE
put that
first.
money if it was part of, when Don sent the email in it says, to confirm layouts and general configuration of the additions. I consider that pole barn an addition, part of the CTE project, even though it's really not part of it. So,
It's not part of the CTE project, or it is?
Well, right now, it was in the 10.850.
But it doesn't have a functionality for this.
Right.
right, it doesn't have a
Right.
link part of the CTE.
Just like when we've done other projects where we've gotten DEP approval to do stuff way back on the middle school and do stuff up here at the high school. Those projects were unrelated to each other, but anytime you affect the footprint of the campus, you have to get approval from DEP to do that kind of stuff. So they can be totally unrelated. That's why I said if you put it as an addendum, then there's no financial cost that you're ever going to jeopardize CTE. Because when all the bids come back for CTE, and the barn, you could say, hey, we're just gonna do CTE because we don't have enough money because something happened in the 2 years between now and then. Or you might say, we need that 350 from the barn because CTE came in higher than we thought. When you do it as an addendum, you can just reject the addendum, which is another option for you to do.
If we don't do something, I mean, it's pretty clear by those images that, we need storage facilities and something needs to be done. Otherwise, the taxpayers are gonna be wondering why we're covering our equipment in tarps. If it takes 2 or 3 years to get DEP approval and we put this project off for 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden the thing's, really creating a burden on our equipment and our ability to take care of our facilities, we're going to be in a bad position. I think it makes a lot of sense to move forward with this, what isn't costing much within the overall package, to just move forward on the approvals and have them in hand so that when that time comes, whether it's part of this CTE proposal or a CapEx project a little bit later, we've at least done the necessary work to prepare ourselves for that project. Otherwise, we're going to get caught unprepared, and we're definitely going to need something, it seems evident to me.
And we have to come back to you in the next couple of months, because even though you're doing this approval to get Don and the engineers going, he still needs more feedback and an approval from you to finalize CTE. So in the coming months, where we're trying to finalize what the CTE would look like, we could also finalize what this, if we get you the drawings of what this building will look like, and maybe we say, hey, we've got to make it the case. Maybe the bottom line is, this doesn't finalize CTE by any stretch of the means. We've got a couple of months down the road because you guys wanted to wait until we had a better picture where budget was. So around budget time, we're going to have to finalize what CTE is going to look like, and by then we can give you more information in a drawing of what the barn would look like, and then you could pull the plug if you wanted at that point.
2 things here. You say how much cheaper? How much cheaper is it to do it this way? We don't know. You said a few $1,000s. So it doesn't matter one way or the other whether you do it. It's $1,000 here or there. Second thing.
That's, no, you asked me how much do I think out of that 100, would be to get approval for the barn in addition to CTE? How much would it be if we go down later and have to hire the engineers later to just do a whole new approval process from Pike County Conservation District and DEP?
What's the difference?
Because you're going to have to hire engineers a whole second time.
We hire them all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just telling you, it's going to cost more money. How much more, I don't know. But it's going to be considerably more to do 2 separate applications and have 2 separate construction projects. But sometimes you have to eat it, and that's just the way it is.
Give me a number.
I'm not prepared to give you a number.
I'm not prepared to.
And you know it too, because you're in, but
but
you know also, you're in construction. You know it's a heck of a lot cheaper to get people to do more work when they're on site than to have them come back 3 years later.
That leads me to my second part. We have contractors here that come from all the way from the other side of Wilkes-Barre. You run a smaller project like this, like a pole barn, it's a separate entity. You bring in local construction, and I want to hire local construction.
If they're
I want to
bonded,
see local electricians.
yeah,
We have local electricians that work in the school.
Yeah.
I want to see local people working here.
and if they're bonded and have everything that's required, then they can do
We
local.
have local.
We've said that before.
Okay, so I assume that they're bonded and insured because they're working here as is.
Yeah. And some people do piecemeal stuff because they don't have bond, they're not bonded, so they have to be a subcontractor and things of that nature.
I see CRL electric trucks here all the
Yeah.
time. They bonded and
They are.
insured? Sure, let them bid on this. That's just one example.
But we have a lot of people who have always wanted to bid on different projects here for to be GCs, to be a general, and they couldn't because they don't have the bonding. Really, the only one I think around here is Zytone. It's the only local one that ever bids on general
Correct me if I'm wrong though, John, even if you're doing the pole barn independently, I would think as a school district, we're GCing the job. We're not going to be going out and getting the electrician and the plumber and the HVAC guy. So there's gonna be a GC on it anyway. I honestly, I see your point completely, but I think for the DEP approvals, and again, remember I do this too, I think it makes sense to keep them in there. Let's approve it, get that DEP part done. I would say when we get into the drawing, have a footprint to go to DEP, and that's it. We do nothing else on the drawings of the building until we know we want to move forward with it. But to have, if we get to the point where we include with the bid as an addendum, we will see a benefit in the cost of that, bidding it with the whole CTE. There's no doubt about it.
Who built this building right here that we're sitting?
Oh, we did. Our kids did, right?
Well, no, the kids did the old part, back in the eighties,
That's right.
back in the eighties. This was a bidded project. This addition here, which doubled the size of this building, the field house and what is known as the F wing of the middle school was all built as part of a 2001 construction project. Again, 3 separate projects, but it had to be under one DEP approval because we were affecting the footprint of the whole campus.
Right, well, what I'd like to see down the road is we're putting $10 million to the community's money.
So I'm sorry, Jack.
We're putting 10 million, 8, roughly, that was the estimate, I don't think it's gonna come out to that. Of the community's money into a CTE project, I say give the kids something to build. You know, and we don't know what we're gonna build.
And we also have to find out if that's even allowed anymore. That was 1982 when they built that side. I really don't know if they're allowed to.
We need to find these things out before we go spend $10.8 million.
When you ask questions, we'll get answers. You
It's not
asked it
reasonable to
tonight.
think that our.
Okay, I've said what I wanted to say.
Whole building.
I've said what I wanted to say. If this is
So
included in CTE.
Is part of the $100,000 to develop the drawings for this pole barn?
It would, whatever basic sketches that are required in order to get the DEP ball rolling, because that's the thing that slows us up the most.
So I have a problem with that. I have a problem with 6.5% for the architects that mentioned this before. And
And that's down from 70, not
I
down.
understand, yeah, we should knock it down to 6. But this is the most expensive pole barn I've ever seen.
Well, it's big.
I've seen big pole barns that don't cost $350,000. I don't know what you're putting inside, and that's part of the problem I think I have with Jack is, what are we building inside that's gonna raise that price up to $350,000 for a pole barn?
It was literally, Quandale did a square footage price, took 350 and divided by square foot. And Don said to me yesterday, I think that's really high. I think we can build it a lot cheaper.
I think you're right.
We're not approving $350,000.
No, that's the point. Just like we don't know yet what CTE looks like, we think we're really close, but there were some questions that were raised last week that we're looking into.
I'm sorry I missed that discussion.
So we're not ready, the board wasn't ready last week when they discussed that they weren't ready to say, this is CTE full bore ahead. They wanted to see what was going on with budget. But they said they could get the ball rolling because DEP takes so long. The same thing with this pole barn. If we bought ourselves a couple months by doing this, we bought ourselves a couple months to finalize exactly what they want to vote on for CTE. In those same couple months, we can hurry up and come back to you with a plan of what the drawing looks like. But the idea is to give them permission to start the ball with the application for DEP.
So what's the $100,000 means?
That list I sent in your folder that I emailed everybody today.
What's the breakdown in dollars on that?
I have no idea. And we don't even know if it's gonna be 100, Jack. The idea was,
We capped it.
yeah, the conversation that we've been talking about is DEP approval process takes longer than it takes to build the whole.
I got all that.
So let's just try to get the ball
I'm
rolling.
more concerned about the dollars at this point. That we're approving dollars that, has the board had a discussion last week about going forward on CTE? I mean, we're sitting in an environment where we haven't gotten last year's money for the budget. The governor wants more money. There's a proposal for next year to give us more money. We haven't gotten last year's new money yet. So I would rather wait, and it might hurt the timeline, but I'd rather wait to see where our budget is gonna be. We're 2 months away, I think, from having some numbers. So,
My feeling is I would like to table this and get all of the questions answered.
okay, I'll make a motion to the table.
Second.
So you have that on the table. Might not be tabled.
No, I know there's.
You need 4 to 5 to table.
Still need 5.
You still need 5 to table. So let's do that first.
The motion table. Sean Bouquet.
Aye. Yes.
Brian Carson.
No.
Jessica Decker. Jack Fisher.
Aye.
Corey Homer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Aye.
Pam Lutfi.
Yes.
Jack O'Leary.
Yes, ma'am.
Chuck Pike.
Nay.
And John McLaughlin.
No. Thank you.
5 yes, 3 no, 1 absent. Motion carries.
We'll get you more information on both parts, both the barn and CTE. There was a question about the welding that Jessica asked, and we didn't get a hold We didn't get an answer back from Dr. Hornberger if that was on the list of potential things or not. We didn't think it was, but we wanted to double check with him. So I'll get you that, and we'll get you more info about the barn. That way everybody, no matter which way you want to vote on, you feel more comfortable about it.
And I have a question about warehousing also. It's such a large structure, warehousing. Is that something that we could also discuss as far as making a tie-in to CTE? I don't know if that's even feasible, but
We can only pick the stuff on that list.
gonna add.
There was only X number of things we could pick from, and it was the three we picked were Homeland Security, the recreational vehicle, and the emerging healthcare from that list.
Yeah, we can't do diesel, we can't do.
Right, we couldn't do diesel, we couldn't do the, what was the other fracking facility? We couldn't do.
Welding.
Right, we didn't think welding was on the list either, because that was something we were really excited about.
So I'd like every board member to send all of their questions, comments to John, so we can be ready for our work session. We'll devote, probably need to put a little more time than half an hour into this.
Right.
To make it an important focus, so we can get it back on the agenda for the next public meeting.
One thing I do want to bring up, I mean, we're giving a cap to this. I mean, we could give a cap, whatever number. I don't know if 100,000 was pulled by Don or us.
We actually asked Don, and that's what I was gonna
Is
say,
that what it was?
for Jack's benefit, just because you weren't here. This was kind of a compromise, I think, that we all were comfortable with to go forward. Because the DEP approvals take so much time, let's get that in the works, because I specifically asked Don, are those going to last for a number of years? So if we decide to not move forward with this project in the next 2 years, will these approvals still work? And he said yes. He said, other than you might have to do a couple, I think they were flows or whatever, that would be maybe 2,000 to 4,000, but everything else would last several years. So the $100,000 number though came from Don. We asked him, what would you need to get that done and get the ball rolling, with the thought and the understanding that we might cut it off? What can we do now that would survive? That's how we got to that point.
And I've been involved with this before, and we were gonna buy the Santos farm, and they said, let's put some dollars up front so we get this process going. And that whole thing just withered away and died, and we lost 50 or 60,000.
It's because of what withered away and died on it first.
No, but I'm saying, no, that was, and then there was a secondary project, which had the gas line on it. Which we put money into and lost that. So this would be the third time we're being asked to do things up front. And then it may or may not happen. I haven't heard a sense of this board yet that you're willing to raise taxes to cover the regular costs that we see increasing in the next 2 months. And then add this on top of it, like John was saying, there's more costs there. So I'm really waiting to hear the board say, we're ready to go to the 3.1% index, and then I'm ready to do CTE. But if we're not doing 3.1% index, I'm gonna vote no on CTE, because we don't have the money without that to do any further projects, just because we have to meet all of our contractual obligations next year. So I think this is one giant discussion we have to have. I'm glad, Pam, you wanted to table it tonight, because it gets us closer to that decision on the budget for the next year and the following year. Bill gave us what he thought was a 5-year projection on budget, and each year, tell me if I'm wrong here, but each year included a tax increase. So I want to make sure we're talking all on the same ball of wax that we're trying to form here.
I'd just like to say one thing that has nothing to do with this, since we already tabled it. I won't mention Beaumont here.
Okay. You're not allowed to, right?
We have needs. We have needs, obviously, for storage. Like I said, I've been in different school districts and I've seen buildings. And I talked to Marvin, he emailed me this week, and he said, I have no problem with your need. I can see where you may have a need. That place looks like a mess back there. I agree. I like things neat, orderly, and those are not neat and orderly. I just don't think it should be part of this, because I like to keep things neat and orderly, much like an accountant. So I can see where myself and Jack would agree on this. I like things on order.
Debits on the left, credits on the right.
Exactly. I'm sticking with that. The thing that I'd like to mention is if it stays as a small project, not taking away from Don, Don does our big projects. We have local engineers here that could handle a small project, and I like to give the money locally to our people in our school district. Second to that is, I've been saying this for a long time. How many people have been in the Delaware Valley Elementary Gymnasium right across the parking lot here, man. That's a fine building, doesn't need to be heated for a lot of our storage needs. I don't know why, as a construction guy, why would they tear that down? You know? How much could you, the ones that have been in that gymnasium, it's a fine-sized gymnasium, that solves an awful lot of storage needs, and it costs us nothing, maybe to put in a bay door. $10,000 garage bay door with a button. So, it's just something to think about.
We'll add it to our discussion for the next work session. Okay, thank you, everybody. Moving on to item H, may I have a motion to approve the following board policies, which are numbers 1 through 8. These have been available to you for review.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Hearing no objections, the motion carries. And just to bring to your attention, we don't need a motion, but we do have 15 board policies which are under review.
Yes, Pam?
Yes.
I was asked to review the language of the naloxone administration policy that we're looking at, and we are fine. The term opioid is used consistently throughout the policy. All we have to do to fix this is delete the separate definition for opiate. It's not necessary and it's incorrect. So that would be under authority. The last 2 lines of that policy, and in the 3rd sentence, starting with the word opiate. Okay, also in the definition for opioid, just delete in parentheses a synthetic opioid. That is incorrect. Other than that, the language is fine.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Incorporate that. Thank you.
So are we, I have one question, are we accepting that policy as it is tonight? Because we'd like to.
It's just under review.
It's just
It's
under
not for vote, for vote next time. So,
Well, we have the substance here, if a child needs it, he's going to.
Yeah, right, right.
Okay.
Okay. We are now at other business. Here, take anything from the board first? And any comments? Yes?
Last month you tabled a proposal for an after-school program. You had said you were gonna do some more research into it, get some more information, find out what was going on. Could you update us on what was going on with that?
In the meantime, Carmen Monroe Pike Mental Health and Disability Services got back. They don't have the money to run it. After all we went through, they don't have the money to run the program, so it's not gonna happen.
So there was no grant money in the first place?
They got back to us and said, we didn't have it, we don't, I think what they say, they don't have as much money as they thought they were gonna get.
Correct.
And John reported that they mentioned that their fiscal year begins in July, and I think they're gonna look at it again in
At
July.
that point?
Yes.
So that was all much ado about nothing?
Right.
Got it.
That goes under that category.
Yeah.
Anything else from the public?
How is the new elementary school coming along?
Good.
I'm gonna be in the library, so I'm concerned about the library. I'm gonna have a workspace.
You are gonna love it.
Yeah, everything's
Personal
on
reasons.
schedule. The painting of the rooms is all done in the kindergarten, 1st grade wing. Now they're over in 2nd and 3rd grade wing doing the painting now. And the cabinetry guys are doing all the woodworking in the kindergarten wing. So we're off and running.
Are you gonna have enough room for, everything that you wanna have in that building?
Yes. Yes.
You know, one thing we have to remember, because there have been comments along the way about building for future populations and so forth, and in Pennsylvania, you can't do that. There's something called the Taj Mahal Act, correct? That you build to the number of students you have. So I know there was some questions about special education classes that could be different. That could be maybe a traveling of the classes, I don't know, exchange of classes, but.
And we also, in our drawings too, where the building is, in our original drawings, there are dotted lines to indicate 2 other places that if we needed to add on later, it's already been all figured out. This is exactly where we would add 8 more rooms here. We could add more rooms up on the front side. And the library and the CAF and those were sized so that if they do give you some flexibility to make those a little bigger based on in case you have future growth. Otherwise, you end up with a tiny cafeteria like we did next door, and you don't want to do that. So there actually are sketches of where they would footprint wise, where those additions would go.
I just want space in the library. I work at a tiny little place.
Is
I
there
mean,
a
a big
formula?
difference.
Do they provide you with a formula as far as how much you are allowed to over exceed?
Did you get the notice to pick out your chair?
No, I didn't.
Forthcoming.
My question is for Jack. Last meeting you had brought up that a parent had gave you some concerns regarding a tier 2 sex offender. And they said that the attorney said that they would look into it and find out about the policy, if there was one in place, or if, what we can do to change the policy. I just wanted to know if anybody ever came forward.
Right, that was just a hypothetical because Ben had read something about it, but I did get it addressed from Ashley, do you know? There's basically nothing she said we could do about it.
Okay, so there's no policy for that.
And there's nothing the state says that you can be state law. There's nothing. The only, I think what Ashley said, the only way you can prohibit class 2 sexual offender, somebody that's violent, is if it's in their terms of parole, or terms of probation, sorry, not parole, terms of probation. So you're gonna have to find out, and I know Officer Moglia says he's on top of things like that he has ways that he checks. So a lot of our security stuff is done, people do not see it, but a lot of it is done.
No, I wasn't doubting the security and the procedures. I just
Well, that's part of
wanted to know if
security.
there was a-
That's part of
I just wanted
security.
to know if there was actually a policy written for that.
There is
I just
none
was
because we
concerned because
can't.
I didn't hear it brought up this meeting, it was brought up last meeting.
Right, yeah, she was here last week, but she's not here this week, but she talked about it last week and that it's not a policy, but it was a clarification of the law, of what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. And basically, like Jack echoed what the law says.
We discussed it at our work session last week, but I'm glad you brought it up because it was a question, public meeting. Thank you. Any other questions?
I was wondering down the gym.
It's like leaving a Pinto in front of your mansion.
But if the Pinto has, you've got smaller people that can ride the horses.
I meant the Ford Pinto. Or El Camino. Well, that's a whole nother story that cart left the barn, that horse left the barn about 7 years ago. And we're in the final stages, we're gonna kind of rip that building down in June.
Okay, so it's going down.
It's going down, right. It's already been bid and they're already, it's all.
Second question. I can remember over the years, several times when bids went out and Marvin would come back and say, none of the locals bidded on anything. And I was wondering, are you getting the locals to bid on project work?
On these two projects, no locals got any of the bids, both at the elementary and at the high school project.
On the campus projects, we have successful local people.
They're summer projects.
The size of the job, the scope of the job is something they can deal with.
But if it's really big, then it's usually out of the realm of most of our local people. But like in the summertime, if we're doing tile work, carpet work, things of that nature, then you'll have somebody like Pocono Interiors bidding on the job. And when we do electrical in the summer, you have people like Voltron and CRL and things like both from that horse.
Been trying to change that prevailing wage act for many years.
Yeah.
Nobody budgets.
No.
Next month's board meeting has been moved to the date that you had the work session. Are you having another work session to replace that or no work session?
No work session next month. We'll do it again in April.
So when will you be reviewing these board policies?
We reviewed them last, the ones that will be approved next month?
The one that says for review.
They're reviewed tonight and they'll be on next month's agenda for approval.
We went over them in the workshop.
You went over them
Yeah.
this month.
Mm-hmm. we went over and made sure we had them the way we wanted them last week, and then put them on the agenda as under review for tonight. And then next month, they'll bump up to that other category, the ones that we approve on.
And John just gave a fine example earlier of why they are on review. He noted something that needed to be changed, brought it to our attention. Now, we will go home, read these policies and, agree with that or not agree. So, but that's a good point. We don't have a work session next week, so we won't be able to do the,
We can talk about CTE at the board meeting.
yeah.
I'll make it part of the board meeting, that's fine.
And we have our staff retreat after that too. So we want to forfeit the retreat.
Yeah, we don't have much on the agenda, so we can dedicate tonight, so we can dedicate time to CTE.
I have a question about the retention policy. It was worded at the elementary level, and the subjects were separate as it was listed. In the elementary grade level, the English language arts and reading is one subject. So how do you decipher if the child is only failing the language arts portion of the reading portion, if they should be held back or promoted to the next grade? Because the policy is a very gray area.
It is, but there's also, and mathematics is also included in that, but also the policy states or 6 months below grade level. So I think that the
Right, but if the
teachers,
child is above reading level, however, in the language arts and comprehension portion, they are below level, how do you decide?
that would not be significant enough. If the policy states failure in 2 areas. So if it was failure in
They
the,
get graded.
but the teachers do keep separate language arts grades. So they would meet with any parent that had those kind of questions and go over the difference between just the reading portion of the grade or the language arts portion of the grade. And then there would also have to be failing reading or mathematics.
Right, and that's my concern, because I'm personally going through this at the moment. My son is failing, but he's not failing the reading portion, he's failing the language arts portion. But on the report card, reading is together with language arts. It's combined as one grade. There is no separate grade on the elementary level, like middle school. In middle school, you have a reading grade and then you have a language arts grade. In the elementary school, it is combined as one. That's what I'm trying to decipher. How do you, it's not worded like that in policy. And I went over it with his teacher and even read her the policy about it to see what we can do, because he's only failing one half of that subject, but overall he's failing the subject.
So I don't believe that he would be retained based upon one half of that grade.
But it's combined as 2, so technically he's failing 2 subjects.
Well, we will,
Well, the
bring that
report card
to
is
them.
failing one. in a
Right.
sense. On the report card, that shows up as
Right, but
failing
it
one.
shows that he has to fail reading, language arts, or mathematics, as Dr. Schaefer just expressed. But because his reading and language arts is combined as one grade, it supplements 2 grades.
So on the report card, it shows it's failing one. When you peel back the onion, he's only failing half of
Right,
that,
if you
so
cut
he's
it
gotta
in
be
half,
fine.
but unfortunately on the report card, it's 2 classes combined as one.
So you're okay because he's, on the report card, he's considered failing one. When you open it up to the policy, he's failing half. So he's not failing 2 no matter how you calculate it, is what we're saying, you're okay.
Is it my understanding that is because how the curriculum is designed?
Correct.
In
It's-
2 months,
it's
it may be
incorporated into-
unrelated as it is now.
well, we combine them together because that's the way it's taught. It's taught in combination. They're not taught in isolation, one course over the other. We felt it made more sense. And
Right, but at the elementary level,
perhaps we should update the policy in some way or take a look at it. But I think that would be something in terms of a team meeting with the teacher, the principal, and so on to discuss in particular any particular student issue, because it is never our intention to retain a student based upon one
Right, but
subject
based on
area.
how it's worded, because it's 2 grades in one, there's a possible retention.
No, I don't believe so, because the policy states reading, language arts, or mathematics. The grade is English language arts. So based upon the way the policy is written, you actually, there are a stronger chance of your child being promoted than retained, based upon the way the policy is written. As it says 2 subjects.
Can we put that, can we review that policy?
Sure. Yes.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, So we are having a meeting on March 10th at 6:30 here in this, oh, I'm sorry, Shahola Elementary School in the cafeteria. Got that, Shahola?
6:30.
Yeah, 6:30.
And John, and you have to break down like one for, that we can get it next month to have a chance to review it prior to meeting the parties the following month.
I'll get you the numbers.
I need one meeting.
I'll get you the number of people by department. We do salary and benefits later as one.
Well, that's, I know it's gonna be one, but that's,
But I
it's
can get
important
you-
for us to know what's in each.
I can get you the staffing for each one.
And before we adjourn, I do need to announce that we are going into an executive session for personnel reasons. Personnel reason and student. So, yeah, may I have a motion to adjourn into executive session?
No, there's nothing yet.
That's true.
All the way around the back, you're going around the ring.